This is Andi Purewal for Boxing News. I'm joined by Swedish heavyweight Otto Wallin over Zoom. Otto, good to see you. How are you?
You too. I'm good, thanks. How are you?
I'm very well, thank you. I don't know what the summer in New York has been like for yourself, but have you enjoyed it?
I have. I've tried to. I've been training a lot, but I try to enjoy this. Always something to do here. The weather's been nice, so a lot of we've done a lot of nice things, I think.
I'm glad to hear it. And you've just said there a lot of training. I imagine you've been trying to tick over weight in hope of kind of a big fight news on the horizon. Is there anything you can update us on?
No, nothing really. Nothing really. We've been told there's a couple offers coming in, but nothing serious yet.
What are you looking at in terms of not necessarily names, but firstly dates, kind of locations? What do you think's most likely? And the reason why I mentioned locations, obviously, we're seeing Riyadh season events popping up towards the back end of the year.
I would love to go back to Saudi Arabia to Riyadh season. That would be great. They took really good care of us last time, and I had a good time out there. I didn't win the fight, obviously, but we had a good time. I felt like they took good care of us. So I would like to go back there, but I can't just focus on that. I just we try to explore all options and see what's best. And I don't really know with dates yet, but I mean, I'm staying ready, so hopefully I get something soon.
Is it a surprise to you that maybe that there haven't been a few more approaches or anything? Just because we touched on this previously, the two defeats in your career coming against Anthony Joshua and Tyson Fury, who granted last weekend things didn't go to plan for AJ, but for a long period of time, him and Fury have been up there at the top of the division.
Right. I think it's gonna come. It's gonna come. So just gotta be patient, really, and at some point it's gonna come.
Who are you looking at personally? Do you feel like, we've spoken past about the Dillian White rivalry because of how it all fell through previously. Do you feel like there's anything in that type of fight?
That would be great. That would be perfect. I think Dana White's a perfect fight for me. But other than him, there's a lot of guys out there. Uh, you know, from where I'm at right now, Dylan White, Chisora. Uh, there's so many names. I always think of them two together for some reason. But there's a bunch of guys. So I'm um, I'm here and I'm ready for it.
What about somebody like an Agit Kabayel?
Kabayel would be a good fight. We were actually supposed to fight in early, was it 2018 maybe or 2019 for the European title? But then, unfortunately, my trainer, he got sucker punched on the street here in New York, so he broke his jaw and went to the hospital. So we canceled the fight because of that reason. But that was a fight that was supposed to happen back then.
Oh, I mean, that's I didn't know that.
Yeah.
So obviously, when you look at certainly Ajit recently, his name's really kind of coming to the fore, coming towards the top of the end of the heavyweight division. Given you were previously due to meet, is it any surprise to you at all that he's really kind of starting to establish himself in the division now?
I think he's always been a good fighter. And we sparred like 4 rounds one time, and I was over sparring with Pulev in Germany. And I always knew he was a good fighter. So it's not that surprising. He's had a couple good wins now and see where he goes from here. But I think that's a fight that I will entertain.
Away from obviously all things Agit Kabayel, as I mentioned, the past weekend we saw an unbelievable and stunning night at Wembley, which ended ultimately with Daniel Dubois stopping your old foe Anthony Joshua. I just wanted to get your initial reactions and your thoughts as to what we saw unfold last weekend.
I was really shocked. I thought that AJ was going to win by knockout, but I think Daniel came out. He was very aggressive. He looked strong and powerful, and I think he really caught Joshua off guard. He has stuck it on him really, and he did a really good job. I gotta take my hat off to what he did a really good job. And with Joshua, I felt like I said, he was probably caught off guard. He I mean, he never got into the fight.
You mentioned in getting to the fight. Obviously, that first round when he got dropped, for many people, they felt like AJ was never able to recover from that. Do you see something similar? Did you see Anthony Joshua struggle to recover from the first knockdown?
He might have, but I just felt like that was Dubois' night. He did a really good job, and I mean, even before that, Joshua struggled to get something going. So it's hard to say, but you gotta give respect to Dubois.
I've recently I just spoke to David Price, and David, suggested and said that AJ definitely looked like he was concussed in that fight. Could you see that yourself? Did you feel like Anthony was concussed?
Do you mean before the fight
No,
or like leading
during.
up to during? He probably was. I mean, when you get knocked down like that, you probably get concussed. You get a concussion. So it didn't look too good. Uh, but I mean, I don't know if it really makes a difference because Dubois did it. You can't just say if he wasn't concussed that he would have won the fight. Dubois did it, so uh, that's how it goes sometimes.
What impressed you the most about Daniel's performance?
That he came out and he was able to hit Joshua so easy, and he was just kept landing, and I felt like he did a good job with that. When I fought Joshua, I thought he had good defense. It was I felt like it was hard to hit him, but Dubois he just landed everything.
That was another talking point. AJ for a fight, he seemed to have relatively low hands. How much of a shock was that to you? Because you've just mentioned, you had quite a tight guard when you fought.
I agree. He had his hands really low, which was very surprising to me. He had his chin up in the air also, and he wasn't able to use his footwork as well. And it looked like that. It looked like Joshua had been working on countering, and I felt like they thought maybe that it was gonna be easy to hit Dubois. Yes, because we saw him in the Hergovic fight. He got hit with a lot of 1-2s, and I think that they probably figured that Joshua was going to be able to land that pretty easy. And you can see early on in the fight that Joshua throws the right hand, but he can't really land it clean on Dubois, which was surprising actually. They must have worked on that defense. So I have a feeling that they thought that it was going to happen like in Ghana when Joshua could just zone in and really sit down on his right hand and take him out. But I think what happened was the Dubois was so aggressive and pushed Joshua back, so it was a shock for them. And Dubois was kind of hard to hit this fight. It looked like.
When you see a fight like that, and when you kind of consider the heavyweight division in general, does it give not just yourself but other heavyweights kind of confidence? When you look at Daniel's story, people were writing him off when he lost to Joe Joyce, but he's kind of come back. Does everybody kind of take confidence from that?
Yeah, I do. I do. I mean, uh, there's always. I feel like I have more, so I just gotta keep working. I have more time. I haven't been in very tough fights. The Joshua fight was the toughest fight in my life, I think, and that was only 5 rounds. So it's not like I have a lot of wear and tear, and I'm 33 years old now. But I feel like I have. I feel like I have a lot of improvements to do, and I think that I can get better, and I think that I can get back out there and back inching in closer to the top.
I'm interested as well, Otto. There's obviously a lot of talk about what next for AJ and Dubois. Do you think a rematch would be a clever move, or would you advise against it?
That's a good question. It's a very good question. I think that at this time, I mean, I wouldn't advise for it. But if Joshua feels that he can change some things and do better, uh, that they know that there's some things that they could have done better, that they have time enough to work on, maybe it could be a good idea. But for right now, I don't see a reason for it. But I mean, it obviously can change, but it's really hard to say for me. It's really up to the team, his team, and him, and they know how he was looking in sparring and how things was leading up to the fight and what happened in the fight. So it's really up to him and his team to decide, and it's hard to say from the outside.
I've seen
But
Joseph.
I mean, the easy answer is to say no. You shouldn't rematch.
Joseph Parker's been calling for that Daniel Dubois fight. How do you feel like Joseph would fare against Daniel?
Could be a good fight. It could be a good fight. I mean, styles makes fight. So we see. It's hard to know that Dubai has a huge win now. I mean, with Joshua and then Hergovich and Miller, which is obviously always also very good wins. But before that, he lost to Joyce, he lost to Usyk, which there's no shame in really. But we see. Styles makes fights, and we time will tell. I think.
There are some other fights on horizon I do want to get your thoughts on. In terms of a British scene, we have Fabio Wardley, Fraser Clarke rematching, who kind of completed a British boxing fight of the year contender, if you will, earlier this year. What do you make of a rematch on the Beterbiev Bivol undercard?
That'd be a good fight. I think I watched the first one. It was a lot of action in that fight. And I like Fraser Clarke. I think he seems like a very good guy and a nice guy. So I'm rooting for him. And I felt like he did a good job in the first fight. I think he was knocked down a couple of times, but came through, got the draw. So I'm hoping for him. I'm hoping for him. One thing with Fabio Wardley is that I see that he keeps getting cut on his nose, and it doesn't look really that well, to be honest. I don't know if he's healed or not, but he has a kind of big scar there. So that might be a fact. I know it opened up in the first fight, so it might open up again.
A couple of people have pointed that out. If you're a fighter and you're going against that, is that something you immediately look to target, Otto?
You can, but you can't really focus on that. You gotta set things up, and that's honestly a good lesson that I had with Fury. I felt like when I caught him in our fight that I kind of started focusing too much on the cuts and just because I felt like, oh my god, this is one punch away, it can stop the fight. So obviously I started going for it a little more than I had to, I think. And you can't just focus on that. You got to set things up. But obviously, when you have a cut on your nose, it's right in your face. So you got to hit there anyways. Just got to set things up rightly.
That's obviously on the undercard of Beterbiev Bivol. Do you have an opinion on that undisputed battle? Who do you think will reign supreme at the end of the night?
People in the gym, out here on the street in New York, they actually asked me a lot about that fight, and I think it's a really good fight. And 50-50, I can't really pick a winner, to be honest. I think it's really hard. I think one thing that could be in Bivol's advantage is that Beterbiev has had some injuries, and he had just had a big injury that he's coming off of. So that could play in Bivol's favor a little bit, but I think it's going to be a great fight. I'm really looking forward to that one.
And I'm sure we'll catch up prior to it, but just also I've got you Usyk Fury 2, repeat or revenge, Otto.
That's a hard one, also really hard. I mean, the first one was a close fight. Fury was hurt, and Usyk almost knocked him out, but it was a really close fight. And I think the rematch. We'll see. We see how much. See what they learned from the first fight. I think both guys probably learned a lot about each other. And Fury had its moments in there. Usyk had his moments, and it was a close fight. So to pick one, it's hard. But if I have to pick one, I say Usyk just because he won the first fight.
I've just thought of one more which has been spoken about, and it involves somebody you know well who lives kind of relative close to where you do, and that's Zhang. What do you make of these reports of him potentially facing Martin Bakole?
I haven't heard that actually, but I think that could be a good fight. Uh, I think I saw the Bakole and Jared Anderson fight a little bit, and that was a good performance by him. And I think that's a good fight. But if I had to pick a winner there, the favorite would probably be Bakole to me.
What makes you pick Bakole?
Just because he's very busy and he's strong and he throws a lot of punches. So I think that could be a problem for Zhang. But Zhang is powerful. He's technical. He's a southpaw. So obviously, a lot could happen.
Right, Otto, I appreciate your time and leave you to enjoy the rest of your weekend. Thank you for speaking to me, and hopefully we'll have some news soon as to with regards to when you'll be out next.
For sure. Thank you for having me.